guess.
What day is it?
Today is Wednesday, aka the day we pick up the Nova, because it is finally done, which leaves us with about less than 24 hours before we leave here to go race the largest race I've ever been in. $100,000 for first, $50,000 for second, then I don't know, like 25 or something, and then I think it pays all the way to 8th place, $10,000. $1,000 buy-in, and we're gonna do it on a motor. It'll be all right.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Should I fill up the nitrous? I think it'll be okay, because honestly, we're just
Put it on at least 100 shot.
I mean, we have 100. I've got jets for everything.
We'll test it on motor, see if it goes straight, and then we'll get frisky later.
Right.
We got a lot of testing to do today.
We're also talking about that car has more power now than it ever has, even on nitrous, just on motor alone. So I want to make sure the thing goes straight. I can shift it right.
Oh, they put your new tires on too?
Yep, new tires are on. So we got a fresh, brand new set of CO7s on it.
So we're ready to test.
We're ready to test. We're ready to put this thing on the trailer and test. I got to do seatbelt, safety loop, and hook the computer up just to make sure there's nothing in that computer, you know, nothing set anywhere. They didn't have one cylinder pulling timing, or, you know, just make sure everything's good to go. Set up the 2-step, trans brake, launch retard, all that, and we'll rock and roll.
Sweet. Thing looks good on a fresh set of tires. It's never had fresh tires, probably.
One time. And those are the ones I destroyed at Dig or Die. So I've never had CO7s though.
They're a little bigger than the DO6s.
Yeah. Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's rubber.
Well, they probably straighten your rear end out.
That's probably what it was.
It was a little not straight.
It was a little not straight.
Everything was a little not straight.
Is that what maybe led to constant rubbing of the tires?
Oh, maybe. Well, when your rear end shifts around as you launch,
Yeah.
interesting happens. Yeah. You had a few things out of whack, just a little bit of adjustments. There's a lot of grinding, there was a lot of fixing. Your rear end's all nice and squared up now. Front end's all nice and squared up. You had crazy amount of toe in the front, so you also had like 2.5 degrees of camber in the right front corner. Your caster was all screwed up. It was, it needed a lot. But the nice thing is it wasn't a lot of parts. It was just a lot of like
Moving things around.
yeah. And a lot of that stuff, when you're talking like in tenths of degrees and degrees, it's not stuff you can do like on a rack at your place or anywhere else. Like you have to be able to get it on an alignment rack to be able to measure that stuff with lasers. Otherwise, you're not ever going to get it right. So
There's no way.
your steering situation was basically a nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't know, no judgment as far as who did the original steering setup on this thing, but they had when you travel the car, you need to have the same rate of change left side and right side.
Right.
So you need to have things that are equidistant. Well, at some point in time in the past, because this wasn't squared up correctly, somebody, instead of fixing all of the problems, had just cut one of the tie rod ends like several inches to be able to draw this corner in.
That wasn't me, so
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge who it was, but when you can see in the video, like we take the inner tie rod ends and like spin them down, and one of them is like 3 inches longer than the other one. So they had just cut the shit out of the other one to be able to draw that corner in correctly. So that wasn't
I
gonna
could
work.
never go straight.
Dude, I guarantee you, when this thing got rowdy, it probably went all kinds of crazy because you had different rates.
There's
of
videos of it.
Videos. It's over.
I mean, you had to have been steering like a crazy person.
He was.
Every time it was like.
Yeah. So there's a reason for that. It's because everything was wrong in the steering in the front end. So new pitman arm, new idler arm, new inner and outer tie rod ends. All that stuff is squared up. Interestingly, the bump steer kit we planned on using from Bear for this thing doesn't freaking fit.
No shit.
So we got to talk to Bear because we actually ruined one trying to get it to work, and then I'm going to take the other one back. But you got all brand new stuff in the steering situation, and all of it's squared. We've also got your center link was shifted like way off on the steering,
Right.
to the passenger side. So yeah, I can't imagine trying to steer this thing at speeds.
I'm gonna say that as much stuff is wrong with it, I think it's ready for nitrous now.
It probably is. Because if that much was wrong and I was getting it down the road before...
Everything was wrong.
Yeah, if
everything was wrong. Like, everything was wrong.
Yeah.
We reset your cowl tracks. They're on, we took them all the way out and then ran them one turn in, so they're even on both sides.
Nice.
Everything is square, so at this point in time, you have like a baseline to work from.
That's
And then, obviously, we're not going to take it out and take a hit, you know, but however, if you want to go out and take a hit with it, see what it does, how it reacts, then you can make some adjustments from there. But yeah, everything was wrong. Normally speaking, like a race car alignment is usually like 2 to 4 hours worth of work. This was like a week and a half, and ordering parts and changing things and ordering more parts, and yeah, it was a pain. It was a gigantic pain.
I'm so sorry.
Is the steering wheel finally straight? Like, it's never in its life been
The
straight.
steering wheel is straight. You need to reclock the piece of the steering wheel itself. So there's 5 points where it will sit.
Yeah.
Figure out which one you want, but all of the actual steering
It's
components
straight.
are
So
correct.
Now we can just line it up straight, and
Yes.
I can pull it off and center it and put it back on.
Yeah, your tape center is going to be slightly off, but all of the actual steering components are actually finally straight. Which, this ought to be a really different car.
Well, I brought fuel, so I'm gonna put some fuel in it and just take it around the block.
Go take it down to a test road and make a hit, see what happens.
Yeah, I think we'll leave the hits for it when we get home, but I definitely want to drive it. I just want to feel.
Yeah.
Because if it really was that messed up, and I believe it, and it's so much better now, like, then that might change our theory. Because I not use nitrous this weekend, but
I mean, it's as sketchy as it was before,
yeah,
but it's more safe.
right.
So, you're still going to have flames shooting underneath your butt. But
Yeah, there's still holes in the floor. And
yeah, we didn't
everything
fix
else.
that.
Yeah,
We didn't fix that.
Don't worry about none of that.
Yeah.
I got a fire suit. We're good.
The collector right underneath your ass with a hole right there. We didn't fix any of that.
No.
But as far as the steering and suspension wise goes, you should see a massive difference.
Yeah. What was the deal with them being like so on level? Was there
So the springs were not sitting in the pockets correctly in the control arms.
Right.
You have to clock the bottom of the spring. There's a pocket in each one of those the control arms where those coil springs have to
push
sit
up
in that
against
pocket. And I'm guessing with the amount of times you guys had this fucking front end apart and engine and everything apart, it may have shifted and it just popped those springs out of the pockets. So that's all done. The ride height from left to right's the same. Your cross camber is cross caster is within like 1/10 of a degree. Your cross camber is within 1/10 of a degree. You have just a touch of toe to be able to give you some good road stability. We've got like 3 extra degrees of caster in it, so it should be way more stable at high speeds.
Nice.
I think you're gonna notice a huge difference.
It's gonna be.
I remember when they first aligned my truck; it was a huge difference.
It's gonna be a huge difference.
It was like I could let go of the wheel at 120, and I was like,
yeah, I could never let go of the wheel.
Drive it
of
with-
this thing.
I could
with the
literally
finger
drive
at
my
120.
truck like this.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's the idea. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, but again, this isn't stuff that you really can. You have to have the tools to be able to get this stuff aligned correctly.
Yeah.
And you can hang parts, whatever you want to do in your own garage, but until you can, align things properly and get everything squared away, you can only do so good eyeballing stuff. So,
Well, and ultimately, it should make the car faster too.
yeah. I made a comment in the description of our video that goes up tonight. Like, we all understand that the fastest way between 2 points is a straight line.
Yeah.
If you're wheeling it the entire time and you're scrubbing speed because your tires are not correct and you're having all kinds of other issues, you're not going in the fastest way.
Yeah.
So, it's not necessarily that the car will go faster.
Right.
But
I'll be able to.
You're traveling less distance, so you'll get there faster.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna put some fuel in it and take it around the block. Shit.
yeah, I'm not going to watch this part.
The time is finally here. After weeks and weeks of work,
spending just about every dime I have, leaning on friends and great companies like Lucore for help, we were finally going to get to make a rip down the street. Now, I know you're thinking to yourself, why in the world would you go right out in front of Lucore and rip it down the street instead of taking it back home to the test spot, yada yada yada. Well, Lucore isn't exactly in the backyard, so it's important when you do stuff like this to go out and test it. If I was going to break it, I would much rather break it at Lucore, right there where we have tools, equipment, everything that can fix it. Or if I did it and said, hey, you know, this feels a little off, whatever, can we throw it back on the rack and just double check? Or maybe I'd like a little less toe or anything like that. That's why it's important. You want to handle those things right there on the spot, because once we leave Lucore, we're going testing and we're going to Crossville. So it's best to handle those things right then and there when they come up and figure out if there is anything that needs to be done. Now, these guys are top notch. I put a lot of faith in that they did what they were supposed to and it was going to work. Got ready to rip down the street. You guys will see here, I think things went pretty well. Notice here, I don't have my anti-roll bar installed. I made a little bit of a mistake when I installed it, and it just isn't going to work out. So we've left it disconnected, but the good news is when I can find time to head down to Tin Soldier race cars, they say they've got a pretty stout anti-roll bar that's going to work super well in the Nova. So stay tuned for that, as I'll be making a trip down there, taking video, and we'll be installing that here shortly.
Hop in the back seat?
No.
Probably fall through the floor.
We got a GoPro. We're good.
All right. when I hear that, I usually hear pedaling and steering.
right. There wasn't any. Goes right on the trailer.
He had a GoPro in there, so. Hey, that bitch sounds good from here.
You went straight for the trailer. I guess it's okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It likes to, like, getting up into speed. I went first, second. I don't know where that limiter's set at, but I hit it, and it was pretty soon. So we'll probably have to change that.
Yeah.
But
it sounded like it was.
The steering wheel is going to be off a little to the right, probably, and you'll want to take the center bolt and take the hub off and just reclock it. But I didn't have time to do that. The cable ended up getting caught.
it constantly gets caught in that thing.
Yeah,
It's
so.
a pain in the ass. But no, it's like, I mean, that's the first time I've ever been full throttle in this thing and was able to control it a little. You know what I mean?
Well, once it's gonna walk a little because we weren't able to get the bump steer kit on it. But once we get the bump steer kit on it, it ought to, because when that nose lifts, your front tires are towing in, so it doesn't know where to go.
But I can drive that. Like that's like I feel comfortable. Like that was no burnout, nothing. Just hitting it raw, and it took off and went. And I can't thank you guys enough. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's so damn.
Cool, man.
I really appreciate it, man. That's makes me feel much more confident in what we're about to do this weekend.
It's a lot safer than it was when it came here.
Yeah,
it had a lot of little things that needed addressed.
Yeah.
You've got 17 psi on the tires too.
It really didn't spin them. Like,
yeah. It sounded good. Like from here, I was like, damn.
I matched. The one tire I tried. The one tire had a bunch of weight to make it balance.
Right.
Like I force matched this one, and it has less than an ounce on it.
Okay.
And then I force matched the other one as good as I could, and it still had like 6 or 7 or 9. I don't remember. I recorded it.
Right.
It was like 9 ounces to balance it. But again, it's a slick. It's going to get burned off anyway. So, but actually just force matching it to the wheel and getting below an ounce, I was super stoked.
Oh yeah. I mean it's working. It went dead straight. There was no like I said, other than just when you're in it and it's floating a little bit and you're doing
that's the front towing in. Like I said, once we resolve your
bump steer
kit and get those tires staying straight through the range of lift, that'll go away.
We might win some money this weekend. At least catch somebody round 1 slipping.
Yeah.
They weren't ready. I'm super happy. You guys are awesome. That's why I brought it.
Sorry it took so long.
It's all right. Look, good things come to those who wait, and that right there makes it all worth it.
That was worth it.
Yeah, because I've never, the last time I drove it when I brought it here, just trying to go down the road like that at 30, 40 miles an hour, I was like, it was fighting
itself. The leaf pocket on this driver's rear was loose.
Right.
I mean, it was the whole rear axle on this side was moving around. It wasn't a lot, but when you're on the gas and off the gas, it's going to shift that back axle and make the
it
car
doesn't take much to make the car drive weird,
especially when you're doing the power levels you guys are doing. So
and that, who knows, that may have been we didn't tighten it enough, or when we went out and took that first hit, because we had made a hit.
It was a combination of things. It had grade 5 bolts in it. It had the locator. So like, there's 3 bolts. 2 of them are elongated, and one's a locator. Okay. The locator bolt was actually loose and cockeyed, like it had been cross threaded.
Yep.
Okay.
And I actually had to cut that one off because it was spun in the J clip.
Gotcha.
So that was why that one was moving around. So like I knew J clips, grade 8 bolts. I locked them down. Your thrust angle is at like 0.1 degree, so it's for what this setup is, it's as good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Without doing a little other trickery, but
yeah, because I've got shims in there and stuff and everything kind of, but none of that has been mathematically measured. That's all been my eyeball and a pointer on it. And like,
I went to 0 slack with it sitting on the alignment rack on your Caltrax plus 1 full turn, and I put paint marks on the nuts and to the rod. So if you can look under the car from this side and see that on that side, you can see the paint marks.
Yeah.
So if any of them knock loose, then you'll be able to identify it before it strips the threads out of it.
No, I think
what was the other thing? I don't know. I had something in my brain. I lost it.
I think
do
that's
that
going
a
to make
lot.
a good starting point because it went straight.
Oh yeah.
Well, this will give you
It needs an anti-roll bar too.
This will allow you to get some base runs and figure out the car, and then we can make improvements from there. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's always room for improvement, but we came a long way with what was there.
And I think next
The
time.
the tie rod ends were like 3 inches difference in length. We're an interesting thing to find. I've never found that before.
It makes me wonder because when I picked it up, I had it aligned before, and when I picked it up, the guy was like, "We did the best we could."
Even the adjustment sleeves were cross-threaded.
That was the best we could do.
The best we could. Like the tires are on it. Thank you. Like, good God. Okay.
You grab the adjusting sleeve and it just goes from side to side because it's a right-hand thread rod end and a right-hand thread rod end.
Of course.
So the sleeve just goes side to side. It doesn't adjust
turn,
anything.
yeah.
Like I did a baseline setup and I just kept adjusting. I had to keep taking it loose to get it so that I could figure out where it was square because I was waiting on the correct rod end to come in. And I'm like, well, I'll just set it up with this so I can get a baseline and get my caster and camber set. Caster's within a tenth, and camber was dead on when I looked at it last. So it had 2.2 degrees negative camber on the right front when I started.
You could see it. It was bad.
Oh, it was bad. It was not great.
Yeah, when we were bringing it up and down on the lift, Bill was sitting there. He's like, "You know, one of your tires is like sideways." Hey, leave my tires alone. Yeah.
Well, this one also has some wear on it from being imbalanced as well.
This one's got 2 flat spots in it. You can actually see. You can see one of them right there where it's all chopped up.
Right.
So that is a balance wear issue, and then the other one was probably right there. They were about 45 degrees off, or 90 degrees off of one another. But that's a huge one there.
So, well, what I wanted to do too is probably go to a taller tire in the front, like a 28. So
Gotcha.
probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
Maybe 27. 28s look big.
Well, the nice thing is now you have like a true, honest setup baseline to work from. It's not like it kind of works. It's a little sketchy. Like now you have a good zero to work from.
Yeah.
Now when
And
we
you
make
can-
changes, it should react the way
Right.
we expect it to.
Right. Not
Right.
we're gonna change something and totally wrong, different differentiators. Yeah, you'll be a lot better set up.
The leaking front caliper I noticed because I had the brake pedal compressor on it and
Right.
it started getting wet and I'm like, oh, what are you doing there?
See,
So
I didn't.
I pulled the brake hose off and there's a rubber guard on the hose and it wasn't allowing the fitting to lock down to the caliper, so I just cut the sleeve back so that it could sit in there natural,
Like where the
and
copper
then I put 2 new copper rings on it.
Yeah.
That's why we brought it here.
I'm finicky about stuff, so just because it's a shitbox doesn't mean it has to be unsafe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's still unsafe.
It's still unsafe.
It's still.
It's safer than it was.
It's more safer.
It's got an 850 cage. I mean, the seat belts will be in it, and then
Matt,
I mean, honestly, my truck's not that safe either.
you have an enormous hole in the floor.
that's some. I got a fire suit.
That's for warming. The evenings get cold instead of safe.
Right. If I race round 1 at 9 o'clock at night this weekend, I'm gonna be glad there's that hole. In the
Yeah,
front.
gonna be glad to have
All
a
those
foot
other
heater.
guys in their race cars that don't have heat.
Right. We probably could put heat in it.
Just throw some carpet over it, it'll be okay.
Yeah, nobody will know.
A couple license plates. We'll do a couple Kenny Power specials, self tappers right through it.
Self tappers right into the transmission bell housing.
And then
I love self tappers and zip ties.
all right, guys. So we made it back to the shop, and immediately I'm pulling out the computer. I want to start going through the settings, figuring out what is what, because we've never been in this computer before, didn't know where the rev limiter was at, none of that kind of stuff. So there's some pretty cool features of this MSD7. You know, there's a burnout limiter, there's all kinds of step and gear retards and all kinds of stuff that honestly we're not going to use just yet. I will tell you this, I know I had said earlier Like, I think I said in Billy's video that I wasn't even sure that I was going to be confident enough to race this thing, but just that little rip on the road right there tells me Fool's Gold is back in action. I can control it. It feels good. The steering and everything feels so much better that I have the utmost confidence that I can get in this thing, let go of the button, and go for a ride. Now, with that, it's going to be tricky because the surface this weekend is really tricky. It's not a good street. It's a back half of the track. It's super coarse. There's a lot of there's like 6 transitions. It's going to be interesting. I've never raced a surface quite like that. I've done it, I did Dig or Die, but Dig or Die doesn't have the transitions. Plus, I had a lot less power. So we're going to be playing the power management game, just trying to get out of the hole and keep the thing moving, and then bring in the power as soon as we can. I don't know that we're going to do nitrous. I feel confident enough that we can slap some nitrous on this thing and I can control it. I don't think it's going to be an issue. It just, you have to realize, I've driven this car for a long time, raced a lot of places, raced every damn weekend, everything else, and it's never been this good. So the power doesn't scare me now, because everything else is so much better, that I know if I can do all of the stuff that I've done in this car with the way it used to be, doing it now with more power shouldn't be an issue because it's working so much better. We obviously have some things that we want to test. We want to try to take it out and obviously test it here. That road that I was on, they told me they don't even test drive cars on that road because the crown is so bad. And you guys see how easily I was able to keep it straight and going down the road. Very little steering input, maybe from here to here. It wasn't the wild, crazy, steering that you're used to seeing out of me in the Nova. So I feel pretty good. I think what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna mess with the computer a little bit. I got some wiring to do. I gotta weld in my 6x6 plates because I want to put 6x6 plates on the floor for the seatbelt mounting tabs instead of just mounting them straight to the floor. I would feel a little more comfortable that if the worst should happen, that we just go ahead and do that a little bit better, not just straight to the floor. And we'll do the seatbelt, we'll do the drive shaft loop. I don't know that we're gonna do nitrous just because I just realized I don't know that we have enough fuel pump to run the wet kit as is. I don't know that we can tap into the fuel pump and it still be producing enough. And honestly, I don't want to win Crossville. That's not my goal. My goal, honestly, is just to go out, have fun, get more experience in the car. And I think we're going to try to do something pretty cool with Crossville. I haven't quite decided yet, but I think based on our math and the way this works out, it's $250,000, but it's like split. First gets 100,000, second gets 50,000, third and fourth get like 25 or something, and then I want to say 5 through 8 gets 10,000. So we might do a thing. We might do a pool where, because there's a couple people that have talked about it. I talked with them. They thought it was a pretty cool idea. We might do a pool where, if you guys put in 100, we'll put it in the buy-in, and if I make it 4 wins into the money, we'll pay out extra money. You know what I mean? So it'll be a nice little pool thing. Try to do that. That's really, ultimately my goal is to go down there. I'd really like to not blow the tires off. I would rather go slower and not blow the tires off than try to get out there, be Superman, and just smoke the tires, and that does us no good anyway. We also have a brand new set of tires on there that have not even had a burnout on them yet. We got to adjust pressure. There's quite a few things we got to get done, but I think that's going to wrap it up for this video because Billy is tightening his retorque in his head. We have to get ready to go to Crossville. I feel much more confident. I was dreading, huge shout out to Lucore because they did a kick-ass job, and I was dreading if it takes till tonight and we just load it up on the trailer and take it straight out there, and the first time I let off the button is round 1 of Crossville. I was dreading that, but now I'm like, nope, it's the same old car it always was. It's just more power and it goes a lot straighter. I love this car. I have raced this the most out of anything I've ever owned. I've raced it across the country, streets, back half, snow preps, everything, and I feel pretty good. So we're just gonna do what we can. Obviously, I've already talked to Billy about some of the tuning stuff. I've got a couple things to wire in. I got to wire in the trans brake so we can do launch retard and launch RPM and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna get to work on that kind of stuff.
that's a little boring, so I'm not going to show it on video. Maybe the next video will be us testing it on the street or testing it somewhere before we leave. And then after that, we're going to Crossville. I will see you guys down there. We will have the merch booth set up. We'll have all the vehicles, the S10's fixed, the Falcon's fixed, the Nova's fixed. Plus, I want to see if we can't stick this front bumper back on just to make it look a little better. Whole gang's coming. I got some helping hands. Everything should be good to go this weekend. I will see you guys down in Crossville. We're going to race for $250,000. And my dream scenario here, after the last week and weekend and everything that's happened, I wanted all 3 cars down at Crossville so I could go race with my friends. And it looks like we're going to be able to make that happen. So I already feel accomplished. And, fingers crossed, nothing happens. We still got to make a road trip and everything else. But if we can do that, if all 3 cars are good to go, we go down there, I can go race with my buddies. We can have a fun weekend. I also think, I don't think we're doing hotels. I think we're sleeping in the trailer and the RV. So we're going to have some fun shenanigans, and it'll just be a really good time. It'll be a really good trip. I can't wait for it. Then the weekend after that, I know we're supposed to go down to Carolinas, Darlington, backwards. 64 cars already locked in. List is full, 20,000 on the line. And who knows, maybe by then we'll get some nitrous on this thing, or I don't know, maybe we don't even know what it runs on motor yet. We still got a lot to figure out. So let's get it figured out. Let's get to Crossville and let's keep going on this journey. I'll keep you guys updated. I know Bill had talked about learning some of the stuff that comes with doing this as a beginner. So I will try to include some of that information a little bit in better detail, like on race days of, hey, this is what I did, this is why I reacted like this is how we got to this point, that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that. You guys are going to learn as I learn, and we're going racing.
Tell him, Vicky. Say we're going to Crossville. Yeah.
It's time to load up. Well, not yet. Let's fix some stuff and test first, then we'll load up.